Meanwhile, today was a day of celebration for senior citizens in Fargo who've been presented with more affordable housing opportunities. The Milton Earl apartments are located on 4th Avenue North next to the Sanctuary Event Center. 42 units are only available to people 62 and older, and this is geared towards economically disadvantaged seniors. Leasing started in January. The building was already full or promised to be full by April. The development director for Beyond Shelter, the company in charge, says you can see the joy in the residents' faces.
You can see how happy they are, that they have a nice place to live, that they can afford to live, so they can buy groceries, they can pay for medical care, and just enjoy living life.
Organizers say some even better news came at the end of their ribbon-cutting ceremony. Beyond Shelter has purchased additional land near the Rape and Abuse Crisis Center that will also serve as low-cost units for senior citizens.